Hey everyone, Coops here from the whole Box and Dice Dragon Ball Super Tournament of Power. We're going to be looking at Golden Frieza. We are taking a set 1 leader with a new set 3.5, whatever you'd like to call it, expansion SR. Everyone is talking about this deck. Everyone is playing some version of this deck. I've seen SS3, I've seen Mecha, I've seen Ginyu. I think Golden Frieza is the best way to play this deck. We're going to jump straight into the list. Then we're going to talk about some of the cards and why they are all in here. We're going to start off with some of the Frieza lines, and you've got 4 copies of the Avenging Frieza. This card is mulchable. When I say mulch, what I mean is the front side allows you to sack a Frieza's Army card, draw a card, and refresh 1 energy. When it's awakened, you refresh 2. Avenging Frieza just pulls so much duty, like double duty for us, because you play it, you search the top 3, you grab a card, then you mulch it away, refresh the energy, or sometimes plus an energy on the other side. That's absolutely huge. Cold-Hearted Strike Frieza is an amazing card. It's a very good card against apes. I really want to find room for the 4th copy in the board, because if SS38s are going to be a deck, which I think it probably will still stick around. It seems like a solid shell, especially because like the SS3 makes it pretty mind-numbing. Like you just kind of throw your apes out and just try and plus value that way. This is a huge card. I did see a lot of discussion about if the cards are already in rest mode, can you target them? My understanding is that yes, you can. So that I think that just makes that absolutely huge for us. We're running 3 copies of Destructive Occupation Frieza combo play because our leader is yellow. 4 copies of Dodoria for a couple of reasons. One, we can hit it off Avenging Frieza, but also the fact that it's a draw spell as opposed to like, we could run Explosive Shigesh, but we just don't have the slots for Explosive, even though they are in the board, so I don't think it's worth it, to be honest. Running 4 copies of the 7-drop, and we will do a little bit of a close-up on the 7-drop here, so we're going to jump across to the DBS page. This is Frieza, Emperor of Universe 7. So this card is just... I can't believe they printed Frieza Death and Taxes in TBS. You EX Evolve it for 1, you drop a Universe 7 from your hand, which we have plenty of options in the deck. And so it's over a 5-drop Frieza, which is the Cold-Hearted that we just looked at. It has 30k Triple Strike. This definitely should not have Triple Strike. The fact that you can use this as like a finisher is just ridiculous as well. Because our leader is yellow, we satisfy the permanent. Counter skills and non-keyword auto-activate skills cannot be activated unless they place 1 card from their life in the drop area. So double strike, triple strike, that kind of stuff is fine. Overwhelm, EX Evolve, Union Absorb, that's fine. And Awaken the leader, I believe, is also okay. Here are the things that you can't do. Autos. There's a lot of autos in the game. You want to like explosive, like a Kale out, pay 1 for the explosive, pay 1 for the Kale. You've just spent 2 life, right, to get that Shigesh Explo combo off. You use a 10k pump. A 10k pump is a 0-0 to combo. The auto is what gives you the 10k in the card draw. You want to pay a life every time you use a 10k combo. This card is absolutely insane. I think it's the strongest card they've ever printed. The fact that King Cold exists and you can just get this down as a 5-drop without having to worry about the EX Evolve is just so dumb. I really don't understand why Bandai printed this card. As soon as I saw it, you know, and we spoke about this, I've been helping my mate out with his podcast. Definitely check that out. I'll link it in the description. And he called this card as soon as it was spoiled. He was like, "This is nuts. This card's unstoppable. It literally derails the game." And he couldn't have been any closer to the truth. It is by far, in my opinion, the strongest card they've ever printed in Dragon Ball Super. I think it will absolutely shape the format. I'm still not 100% sold on whether there's an aggro list that can actually beat this. It's definitely not a Veggies Red-Green list because that is actually too slow. And once you slam this down, they are screwed because they can't pay for all those autos that plus value. So it'd have to be some kind of mono red list. I've seen this list absolutely towel up Trunks, SS3, Mecha, Ginyu, Mars Saiyan. The only deck that have like actually seen this deck consistently lose to is my SLR deck, and that's only because if you don't have like the right pieces in mind, and it's like the Crushables and stuff, if you can't get that online or you don't have it available to you, and that's a draw. Like when you come down to like you should win the matchup unless you draw poorly, and it beats everything else in the meta, you know you're onto something. This card is insane. Even just like imagine like things against apes, right? Like the auto trigger on Planet, for example. Got to pay a life if you want everything to reset. Like got to get the autos if you want the draws when the apes come in. Like just so so many triggers. You know, if you want to draw a card when your leader attacks, ping yourself for a life. And if you have multiple of these, you want to spend 2 of your life to negate 1 attack. Like, it just becomes so difficult to play around this card once you land it. And that's why, we'll jump back to the deck, that's why I like Golden Frieza so much, because you just have so many ways of protecting it. You get access to Cold Bloodlust, which you don't get in the U7, right? And a lot of people are probably going to say in the comments, U7 is better, and firstly, I disagree with that, but U7 is definitely different, right? If you don't think removing your Frieza is going to be a problem, or in our case, removing the King Cold that enables the Frieza, then sure, play U7, you draw more cards, you don't have to worry about mulching, you just plus value in card draw. You don't have access to Bloodlust, right? So as we go through the deck, we'll kind of explain how valuable Bloodlust is for our lines. 4 copies of Guldo, great that you can tap down part of the Veggies line or any kind of early drop, swinging it with your leader, another mulch target. 4 copies of Roshi. If they hadn't printed the Frieza, Roshi would probably be the strongest card in this set. Roshi's absolutely nuts. 4 copies of the most trash rare that I really didn't think would ever see play, because I thought to myself, surely they'd never print a busted greater than 5 cost Frieza, because you just abuse it with this mechanic. 4 copies of overpowering King Cold. A place at a sorbet, another blocker, a great mulch target. We're not going to really using its activate main unless you're trying for a really cute setup victory. 3 copies of Marseille. We mulch so much to our drop area where we always have the resources for OR. The fact that it picks up a couple of the veggies early on is very nice for us as well. Time Patrol Trunks is just a great way to add cards to our hand. Plus, if you're like playing Guldo and stuff and you're tapping something down, use Trunks to get some card draw and clear it off the board if you weren't able to get the job done with your leader. 2 copies of Bad Ring Laser Main. There are so many decks running Bad Ring Laser Main now. Pretty much every yellow deck that I've ever built has had Bad Ring Laser in the main board. It seems like that trend is certainly catching on. Bad Ring Laser is pretty clutch. It's like one of the very few reasons why this and Cold Bloodlust, I would have entertained Mecha as a superior leader to Mulch, but you just can't do enough, sadly. I don't think with the Mecha list playing these kind of lines. But Bad Ring Laser is just great to have. Also, when you charge one, it gives the immediate impression that you're holding another copy in your hand. So very difficult for your opponent. Plays that really intense mind game with them. 4 copies of Lust. We all know what that does. It's absolutely insane. 3 copies of Crusher Ball. 3 copies of Nimbus. We are a highly defensive deck. We interact on our opponent's turn, and then we penalize our opponent for not beating us before we slam down our 5-drop. Or 7-drop that becomes 5. And this is how the interaction works, right? Ideally, you have one of your mulch targets on the board on turn 3, or you have the energy up that when your opponent swings, you play a Destructive Occupation Frieza. And I really would like to work a 4th one of them into there, into the board. I just don't know where to fit it. Probably the Trunks could come out, maybe even a Roshi, just because of the amount of negates and stuff we have. But at the moment, these are kind of the splits that I'm working with. So you have a mulch target already on the board, or you combo on the Frieza when they attack, and so then you've got a mulchable target for next turn. You slam down your King Cold, right? The answers that you kind of are a little bit worried about with King Cold is Crusher Ball, because if they turn it sideways, then it's obviously prone to being attacked. But, right, if you are awakened, then it's like no problem whatsoever. You're normally okay with it. But if you're not awakened and you can only refresh 1 energy, it becomes a little bit trickier. So if you resolve the King Cold and they don't Crusher Ball it, you then mulch whatever's on the board. You're avenging Frieza, the Destructive Occupation that you've just comboed on, and then you have the Bloodlust mana up to protect against Marseille, to protect against Increasing Evil, to stop a, I don't know, like a Jiren attacking you, like all those lines that remove the 4-drop. Because if your opponent knows what's going on, you are slamming that 5-drop down next turn. So, right, so you go to 5 energy, you play this, right, now it just starts to get ridiculous. If you are in a position where you can resolve the 5-drop, right? Okay, so things that unconditionally remove the 7-drop, right? And I keep saying 5-drop because you just always play it for 5, right? Things that remove it. So you're looking at things like the Cell Chain on the pop trigger, but they have to spend the life to get rid of this, and you have 3 more copies coming. Alternatively, if you have the 4-drop overpowering King Cold down, you play the other 5-drop Frieza, right? And then you have 2 up, and you EX Evolve it, and then you still have 1 energy left. This is like the only thing. The ideal board state is if you have all the pieces and your opponent's not putting pressure on you, you can get away with it. If you are awakened, right, and you can mulch something for 2, that is when you are just laughing, right? Like if you can keep somehow 2 on, and it's not, I won't say it's very rare, but it's a lot more difficult because as soon as people know about this deck, they're going to start attacking, they need to put early pressure on, they understand that it gives you the card draw to facilitate the pieces, but if you are low enough, it can be too risky to slam the 7-drop for 5 and either tap out or not have enough to get through. So people will definitely catch on to that, but the deck is just nuts. Like the deck is absolutely insane. The sideboard's a bit of a work in progress. I've got an extra copy of Bad Ring in there. I've got the 4-drop promo from set 1, which is just amazing because it checks your opponent's hand the turn before you're ready to do all this, and you just live with the couple of cards that they draw. You get full knowledge of everything. Explosive is great because it's a way to just straight up kill something that's tapped, especially if you're using Cold Hearted to either tap something down or keep something tapped down. I do like a couple of copies of the 5-drop in the board, the Goku. It's a way to self-awaken. It's a great beater. The fact that it refreshes an energy and draws a card is always nice. I've got the 6-drop blocker in there and 2 of the King Colds as well, because I think in the mirror, the King Cold is a great answer. It's also a great answer against the SCR or any kind of cards like that you just want to straight up remove. You do have the Bad Ring Laser to protect it as well. So a couple of different options for you out of the board, but the board is pretty flexible. Like I definitely think the Frieza promos are in there, and I think you probably want the 5-drop Gokus as well. I definitely like what you can do with Explosive, and I want that 4th copy of Crusher Ball in there as well, just for the aggro matchups, because keeping things sidewards, obviously we can max value that way. So that's pretty much it, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Golden Mulch Frieza King Emperor. It's so dirty. It is such a dirty deck. I've had so much fun playing this deck. You just, online, people, like the first 50 times or 25 times, certainly the first 25, when no one else was playing this, and you just come across people and they'll be like, what do you mean I have to ping myself for 2 life to execute this, 2-step auto? Or what happens if, I want to, I'm like, no, can't do that. Like, Apes players lose their mind. Their resources are already so precious in life, and then all of a sudden, you're now asking them to rip life to get autos off, and it goes to the drop. Like, if it goes to the hand, then I'm like, okay, this card's not as good, they fill up their hand, that's not too bad. The fact that it goes straight to the drop is just absolutely ridiculous. You can pretty much extend the hand when you resolve this and protect it for a turn, because then when you get all your mana back, you're just laughing, and you just stack them. Run out 2 against your opponent. You want to spend 2 life to pop a negate? Like, there's no way you're living through that. So, Golden Frieza, use the mulch package. I honestly believe this is the best way to run this deck. If you don't feel like you need Bloodlust, like if you feel like Cell's dropping out of the meta, if you feel like the removal package to get rid of your King Cold doesn't exist, or you feel confident against it, try the U7 leader out. I think there's a lot of merit there. There's a lot of value. But for me, Golden Frieza is the absolute 10 out of 10 way to go. I can't wait to keep playing this deck. Check out that SLR deck that I put up the other day. Huge shout out to Good Games. They have been hooking us up with some amazing deals on their cards at the moment. So if you're looking for some singles, head down to your local Good Games here in Sydney or the rest of Australia, and even in the US. They have a couple of stores. But thanks again for watching this one, everyone. My name is Coops. This is the whole box and dice. Hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed this one, or hit the thumbs up button if you've lost to this deck online. And I know there's plenty of you out there. Subscribe if you're new. Stick close to the channel for plenty more deck techs. Peace.